All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13, as we are preparing to get underway here for P1R's 2 Hours of Bathurst. So this is a very interesting event that they have set up. I do want to give a shout out and thanks to P1R Turk and NDL Avocado for helping me get set up for this. This is an interesting event where the P1R guys are doing a quick test for some events that they're going to be doing next year, and they're doing it by trying to run the various GT3 cars, all the various popular GT3 cars here, around Bathurst for a 2-hour event. Now, of interesting note, as we look at the event setup here, you start in-game at a time of noon, and the time progression is at times 12. So over the 2 hours, we are basically going to see in-game Bathurst go from height of the day to the middle of the night to the height of the day again. So it's 24 hours in-game, but it's going to be 2 hours for us. The other interesting thing is that tire wear has been cranked up to 2x as well. So when it comes to tire strategy, the main things I've heard, don't bother with the hard tires. You either want to do a 6-stop strategy, so you make 6 stops over a 2-hour period on the softs, do a 4-stop strategy where you make 4 stops over the 2-hour period and only stay on mediums, or try to do a weird mix and match of the mediums and softs and try to make it only 5 stops. Gonna be very interesting to see if any of that could actually be made to work. Other things of note, the field this is the second race that these guys have done with these cars in the weekend. They did a similar event yesterday. I did not get a broadcast that because I was prioritizing the IESC series. So be aware that it's going to be a standing start. So everyone's going to end up lined up single file, and everyone is going to go ahead and get lined up. But once everyone gets lined up, they'll get underway, and we'll see that as they get underneath the bridge. They won't be able to get going until their car goes underneath the bridge here. Also of note, there is no damage in this event. There are no yellow flags. It is all fuel and tire wear only. So this is going to be a little bit lower stakes than what we may be used to from watching from Tora or IESC stuff where sim damage is on. This is just fuel and tire damage to try and minimize incidents, minimize problems here. Also, apparently, and I can't verify because, again, I didn't get to cover yesterday's event, but apparently there was some instance yesterday about drivers finding ways to abuse track limits by wall riding. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as this event goes through here. Also, I do want to go ahead and give a real quick shout out to the winner of the event yesterday. NDL Unfounded won the overall event in yesterday's event. So we'll keep an eye on the NDL drivers because they've shown some speed thus far. Also, ESV Green, I believe, is going to be starting on the pole in today's event. I will be bringing up the qualifying results shortly here so I can get you an exact idea as to where qualifying is set up. Qualifying is also a little interesting. It wasn't a normal set session where everyone has a limited amount of time, a limited amount of laps to set up. It was designed as a typical meetup lobby where everyone had 40 minutes to jump in and set however many laps they wanted. And yes, by the looks of it, it is going to be ESV drivers at the top, ESV Green and ESV Bolt, and the Porsche RSR and the McLaren holding the row 1. Then it's followed by 3 NDL drivers. NDL Wara is going to be 3rd, NDL Avocado is going to be 4th, and then NDL Togue is going to be 5th. We don't see a driver with the traditional E1R, P1R prefix to their name until you get down to about 17th position. We're anticipating P1R Drewski will be starting there. But yeah, also another interesting thing to note, qualifying times at the top 3, ESV Green, ESV Bolt, NDL Wara, all of them are in the 201s. Then you get a huge chunk of cars from about 4th down to 10th are all in the 202s. Everyone else then starts in the 203s, and there are some pretty big gaps that you see form. 13th through 16th are all within about a half second of each other, and 17th is only about another 10th out, but then it's a big, over half second gap back to 18th, and they're in the 204s, and then the gaps really start opening up as they go farther down the grid. Now, that may change. The document is in the process of being adjusted, and they are in the process of still getting everyone into the proper lobbies. But real quickly, let's go ahead and look at some of the cars that are here that we do know will be running in today's event here in this A lobby. So first up, I want to go ahead and take a real quick look at this man here, P1R Turk. I want to say thank you once again for Turk for helping get me set up. He is going to be representing what I believe is the number 12 BMW. Indiel Hot Dog is representing the Ferrari. So very minimalistic design. It's not really crazy or out over the top, but I think that will be pretty easy to see in the daytime. But for a hot dog, he may have to worry about not being very well seen at night. Then we have Indiel Wara. He is representing, I'm assuming if it's not he, I have to apologize. Indiel Wara is driving the number 75 Porsche, so we'll keep an eye on them as well. EBT Revolts is your Chevrolet representative. And then we'll have EBT SS Flipper. They are running the, I believe that is 17. It might be 171, but I believe that is the 17 Porsche. Then PRT Goose is representing the Ford GT. It has been way too long since we've seen the Ford GT in proper competition scenarios. It is, for me at least, a great relief to see it back in racing. And personally, I will absolutely be pulling hard for the Ford GT just because of the car. And anyone who is in it will definitely get a little bit of a cheer from me, but I'll try to keep the bias to a minimum. Otavio Orange 65 is representing Mercedes in the number 365 Motul machine. Then you'll have P1R Drewski. They are in the number 51 BMW. That is definitely a car that's going to be plenty reflective in the night. ESV Green, who again, we're anticipating he is on the pole position. I believe that is the 72 that they're running in this red, white, and black machine. Waventum is in the 666. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's 666. But yeah, Waventum is in the 666 Mercedes AMG. P1R Bunter is in the number 8 silvery gray Mercedes AMG. RXFX is in the number 206 Aston Martin Vantage, so we'll keep an eye on them. EBTE Danny is in the McLaren, the 223. Oh, and hello, looks like we're already getting on circuit. That took a little less time than I anticipated. I did not get a chance to go through everyone's cars, and I do apologize for that. Give us just a little bit here as we are going to get properly readied up and underway. There we are. You see the entire field randomized for the moment, but it will take a little bit and they'll get the field all properly ordered here as everyone pulls off to the sides to let the field through. So as this is a timed race and not a distance-based race, one of the more interesting things that drivers are going to have to deal with is the fact that all the time is being used up right now. As the field is getting gridded, all of the time is being used up right now. So that will reduce the amount of laps you will be able to run. But anyways, ESV Green is starting on the pole, followed by ESV Bolt, Indiel Wara, Indiel Avocado. All right, and here we are. Now they're starting to get rolling here. It looks like they've already got the entire field in proper order. Man, that was incredible how quickly they got that taken care of. Normally for IASC, with the field half this size, it takes them 3 times as long. Keep an eye on the Indiel drivers in today's event, as we are already accelerating after they've gotten into the bridge, and we are underway by the looks of it. ESV Green holds the top position. Indiel Wara is there in the Porsche, the second highest of all the Porsches right now. McLaren ahead, a Dodge behind. as they come up into turns 3 and 4. This is pretty much the last serious overtaking zone on the circuit until you get to the top of the hill. If you are confident, you might be able to make a move at the top of the hill, but for right now, the track is so narrow and so fast, you almost are required to stay single file through this entire section here. Green is already trying to scoot away, but the draft is keeping ESV Bolt and NDL Wara right behind. A little bit of contact on the wall farther back, but it looks like our top 4, top 7, 9 drivers are able to get to the top of the hill without too much issue. And now this is where things get really chaotic. On the run downhill, a series of S's. Oh, and Wara's hit the outside wall. That's going to break him away from ESV Bolt just a little bit. And NDL Avocado in the Dodge pulls up behind the Porsche. Now Avocado slaps the outside wall as they now come onto the long flying back straightaway underneath the bridge. You see Avocado has a perfect run lined up on Wara. Does he have the speed to try and pull alongside under braking though? Into the chase as the ESV duo has scooted away at the head of the field. Avocado is not going to go for a move this time. Wara puts up a little bit of a dust cloud, but they will stay in their current position. Wara is wide coming out. Avocado is now tucked up right behind. Can he make a move into the final corner? No Sateo. Wara missed the apex. Avocado hit the apex, but it looks like the Porsche has good enough drive that they'll be able to hold position for the moment. There is a fight though between Avocado and Toad. That's not Avocado, that is Toad and Orange. Toad on the outside in the Chevrolet is going to slip behind Orange, so Orange is going to move up into the 5th position now. NDL Hot Pockets is a little bit farther back right now, as Toad has gotten by Orange, flying into turn 2 here. One of, if not the best overtaking opportunity on circuit. And now the field begins their run uphill once again. Already we're starting to see some drivers in the back like Raven Tom and Roku VTR struggling to keep up with the pace. Oh, and that is Toad, who has slid very, very wide in turn 4. It's going to lead a lot of time off in the Chevrolet. So already we're starting to see some drivers really struggling here at this stage of the event. Keep an eye on the pit strategy as well. We want to see how many times most of these drivers are going to be pitting as this event goes through. But Toad, who has now slipped out of the top 5 and now has NDL Hot Pockets trying to make moves in. There have not been any changes for position in the top 4 though. But wow, Hot Pockets had a really bad run and he's just barely going to get overtaken as that car slid offline, and Hot Pockets now slips down to the 9th position. EBT Revolts and Hot Dog. It's very, very dangerous to try and be going side by side in the downhill section, but it looks like Vieiro has gotten by Revolt. PDRT Goose has gotten by EBTE Danny farther up. You can see them fighting near at the top of the field though, as Green and Bolt trying to make overtakes on each other. Green still holds the top position. Bolt in the McLaren is tucked up behind. This duo has truly broken away from the rest of the field right now. So here we are at the end of lap 2 of the event. Green continues to lead, but Bolt is not letting him get away. Wara seems to have recovered from slapping the wall early on in lap 1 and is actually closing back in a little bit. Avocado is still 4. No changes in position, the top 4 positions. You have to get down to about 5th and down to start seeing actual overtakes happening on the racetrack. Going to see the entire field as they come down into turn 2. You can see the massive gap the top 2 have gotten. And honestly, the top 7 in general have just the top 6 in general have just pulled away from the rest of the field right now. EBT Donnie is acting almost like Giordano Trulli, and that's 2 Chevrolets going side by side. You see there a BMW trying to make a move on an Aston. And that is the majority of the field that has already made their way. Oh, okay, don't use that camera yet. We have a sideways moment. The Ferrari is hit from behind by Vieiro on the way uphill. Again, not really wide enough to get alongside here, but it's obvious that Hot Dog is really holding up Vieiro. Vieiro is trying desperately to get by as quickly as he can. Time is of the essence. There's less than 2 hours, but for the moment, though, Hot Dog still has the position. Vieiro tucked up behind. Oh, and that's a Chevrolet hard to the wall farther back. No damage. Again, we are running fuel and tires only. As now they come onto the backstretch once again. Hot Dog using straight line speed to pull away from Viero just a little bit. Also trying to run down Hot Pockets. And farther up, Goose and Danny having a fight for the 7th position, neck and neck. That is a Ford GT versus Chevrolet, and it looks like the Ford GT is through, and Hot Dog has gone off circuit. Hot Dog slides off and is going to lose 2 positions in the entire affair. Hot Dog has now slipped out of the top 10 positions, all the way back to 12th now. A little bit farther up the grid, though. Otavio Orange is trying to pull away from Indiel Togue. But again, no big changes in the top 6 right now. EBTE Danny and PRT Goose in a drag race down the first real big straightaway here into turn 2. The McLaren has the inside line. That's the way where you want to be. Gets touched from behind. And Hot Pockets pushes Danny from behind, and Danny now slips back to 9th. Goose holds station, but the entire field is backed up something nasty in turns 3 and 4. Right out the back of PRT Goose's machine. You can see Indiel Hot Pockets tucked up behind, then EBTE Danny and Viero are back there 9th and 10th. Hot Dog has worked his way back to 11th for the moment. Oh boy, you can see Danny really sliding almost out of control in the run downhill, really blocking his EBTE teammate. Hot Pockets, oh, and he's into the wall. Hard into the wall at that. But this is great news for PRT Goose as he gets a chance to really pull away here. We're right on board with Indiel Hot Dog as he looks at EBTE up ahead. Viero has slipped behind Danny at this stage of the race, both of them trying to run down Hot Pockets. At the top, it is still the ESV duo of Green and Bolt, far ahead of everyone else. No chance at a move for Viero on his teammate right now. Hot Dog twitches, coming out of the kink, but he's closed in on the 2 McLarens ahead as Hot Dog is trying to climb his way back into the top 10 positions. Danny holds station over Viero for now. Hot Dog runs right behind. It looks like now the fight from about 7th on back is starting to break up here. Board Viero. A little bit of contact pushes Danny just a little bit on that rear bumper. Danny slides just a bit, but it looks like everyone is starting to figure out where they actually should be on pace. It's taking them about 4 laps, but that seems to be the case right now. Everyone's kind of settled into a rhythm. We see the leaders coming now downhill. Green and Bolt have completely pulled away from the rest of the field. Wara and Avocado run 3rd and 4th, while Otavio kind of runs solo in 5th. Togue is almost completely solo on track in 6th. And then you get to this big grouping of cars. Goose, Hot Pockets, Danny and Riviero, Hot Dog and Azule. And then it's another big gap until you start seeing the rest of the field. The drivers in the back 40% of the grid. Already our leaders are into the chase, but it looks like Green is starting to pull a bit of a gap on ESV Bolt right now. Wara cuts the circuit. Avocado seems to be struggling to keep the rear tires under him, under this heavy braking here. And you see the 2 McLarens fighting for 9th and 10th, going almost side by side in the braking zone. However, Danny backed out of it, didn't want to push the issue. It seems like a lot of the fighting has broken up just a little bit right now. Although credit to Asule, he is putting pressure on Hot Dog and the EVTE drivers ahead as Asule is trying to break their way into the top 10 positions right now. Of course, the big question on everyone's mind is going to be tire strategy. Once again, though, I want to look at our leaders. I just want to remind you, these two drivers right on top of each other. Green leads Bolt around the entire field for the moment. These two have pulled away from the rest of the field, and unless they have a massive strategy mess up or they end up hitting the wall or sliding off circuit, lose a huge amount of time, it seems almost guaranteed that one of these two ESV drivers are going to win today's race. I've been wrong before, I could be wrong again, but that's what it looks like is going to be the case for right now. Green really trying to straight line the run downhill. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the tire wear. ESV Bolt, who is currently running in second position, is at 37%, pretty uniformly across most of the car. We look at the same thing for ESV Green. He is in the 34 to 36%. So right now, Green is wearing his tires slightly less aggressively than ESV Bolt, but I don't think it's enough of a difference to let Green pull out an entire extra lap on track compared to Bolt. I imagine at the rate these drivers are going, they've gone about 5 laps or so. Well, they've gone about 13 minutes. I imagine that these drivers will probably consider pitting with about 120? Not 120, 130 or so. Might be a little less than that, might be at 140, but I think if they really want to push the length on these tires, they could try and go out to around 135-ish. But when that race timer says 140, that is when my eyes are going to be focused on our leaders to see when they're going to go ahead and make their first pit stops. Indy Elwara and Avocado continue to hold their stations, and now we're starting to see time penalties starting to rack up here. Right now, it's only Wara and Druiski who is all the way down to 15th position, but time penalties could have a pretty massive effect on this race as we go on, so we'll keep an eye on that a little bit later in the event. But right now, my main interest is what the pit stop strategy is going to be for the majority of the field. Wara, all sorts of sideways. They are pretty much completely alone on circuit, though, right now. Goose runs in 7th. In the Ford GT machine. Trying to keep Hot Pockets behind. The EBT drivers still run in 9th and 10th, but Viero has really opened up the gap on Danny, and Asule has gotten by Hot Dog. Yes, barely, but now Asule is putting Danny under pressure. Hot Dog is right there behind. He wants to get back in the top 10 positions desperately, but a lot of people want things. People in Hell and Ice Water, you're going to have to fight to get back in the top 10 on this circuit where overtaking is borderline impossible, around 80% of the lap. But Danny continues to keep Asule behind for the moment. On the run downhill, Danny's sliding just a little bit. Really some speed, losing a little bit of control of the rear of that McLaren. Here comes Asule with the run. But they're smart enough to not try to go side by side on this run downhill. And Hot Dog doesn't care though. Hot Dog threw it up there on the inside of Asule, kicked the rear of Asule's machine sideways. That's great news for Danny because it means that Asule's run is completely killed and Danny gets to scoot away. Hot Dog now has his best chance to try to make a big dive going into the chicane. Run downhill. Hot Dog inside, which will turn to the outside in the heavy braking zone. He's got his nose ahead. Asule holds the inside line, dives in a little bit deeper. Hot Dog's gonna try and cross over. Can't make it stick. Asule keeps the car on track. No team for position for now, and Asule is actually closed back in on Danny just a little bit. So the fight for 10th continues here as we see this trio come across the start-finish line. Now they begin to run uphill once again. Sule, the meat in a sandwich as he tries to make moves forward. Most of the positions higher up the grid have already been basically decided, although Bolt is keeping Green very, very accurate. Not accurate. No, accurate's not a bad term, but on top of his toes would probably be a better term. As they come up into turns 3 and 4 now. Ryan on board with Indiel Hot Dog on the run uphill. Sule is kept up right behind EVTE Danny. Oh, and Hot Dog hard into the wall as Sule has gotten a run on Danny. He gets into Danny, pushes Danny wide, and Hot Dog follows through. Danny slips down to 10, 12, and meanwhile at the top of the field, Bolt and Green are having a bit of a fight of their own. Bolt and Green are in a drag race down the hill here. And Green cannot lose top position. Bolt got right alongside. It was a drag race down the back straightaway, and here they're coming into the pits. So our top two drivers pitting a little earlier than I anticipated. This could give Indio, no, he does not pit. So it's Avocado who will instead go ahead and filter up to the top position now, as Avocado is going to stay out on track a little bit longer. Four drivers have decided to make their stop. PRT Goose has joined our leaders in pit road now, and Avocado goes into the top position. So now we start seeing the big game, all based on what kind of tire strategies you want to run. Now we're starting to see that play out. But more than likely, those drivers we saw pitting, like P1R Turk, Goose, Green, Bolt, Wara, I imagine that all those drivers are trying to run at least a 5, if not 6 stop strategy, trying to maximize the distance on soft tires. And if you're in clean air and you're not struggling from drivers behind pressuring you, it may not be a bad decision. But here's the big thing though. For Green and Bolt, now they're going to be dumped into traffic pretty much, and they're going to have to deal with other cars on track that will be slower than them, that will be holding them up through the corners here. Green and Bolt need to be turning out as many laps in clean air as possible to make this strategy work. Green is sideways, he slides into the wall. He'll keep the car mostly straight, but that's going to bleed off a little bit of time as Green is trying to get reacquainted to this massive uptick in grip, but also an uptick in weight from fuel as well. As Green is beginning to close in on EBTE Viero on the run downhill, it looks like Bolt may have fallen off of Green a little bit. They may have needed to put a little bit more fuel into the McLaren's machine in order for him to make it to the end of this next stop, and that might be what is giving Green this small advantage, as Green is now barreling down on EBTE Viero. The EBTE drivers have just not really caught in any sort of break thus far today. They're constantly dealing with somebody, it seems, whether it's Danny, Viero, or someone else. They are constantly in some sort of battle in this event, and now as we see Indiel Avocado pitting out of the top spot, and he'll be joined by Otavio Orange 65, so this will cycle Green and Bolt into the top positions, and now we see Hot Pockets is going to pit, as will Viero, so it will be Indiel Toad who now is going to stay out for a little bit longer, and Toad now goes to the top position. This is great news for Green though, because this means that he and Bolt have completely clean track. While they ran down on EBT Viero, it was not enough to really compromise their lines to the corners. Great run for the first pit stop strategy call for your two drivers at the head of the field, Green and Bolt. I'm really interested to see what EBTE Danny is going to try and do, because Danny is on old tires and it shows. Avocado has just come out of the track on new rubber. Now Avocado has to get these tires warmed up here, so I don't anticipate a big lunge from the Dodge going into 2, 3, or 4, but Avocado is going to be all over Danny on the run up through the hill here. Danny runs the car really to the wall. Avocado looked to the inside, but it was a look that came too late. Didn't get a chance to get alongside. But Avocado's definitely got a nice warm set of tires. Thing is that right now, oh, and Wara has gotten by Bolt. What has happened to Bolt? Something has gone and happened to the McLaren, and India Wara has gotten by ESV Bolt. Did not anticipate that happening. It looked like these two were well clear of Wara, but something must have happened to the McLaren of ESV Bolt, so he'll slip to his overall third as ESV Green continues to scoot away in completely clean air at the moment. Bolt is not letting Wara get away though. Whether it was, it's not a permanent pace difference. It must have been just a small hiccup on Bolt's side, as Bolt is now called up behind the Porsche of Wara. We saw earlier Bolt make a drag race against the Porsche of Green, but he had to back out of it. Will he do the same thing though against Wara? They are neck and neck. Wara just barely has the nose ahead. They dive into the braking zone. Wara inside line will dive really deep under braking. The rear of that Porsche is sliding, but they will keep the car ahead of Bolt for the moment. Bolt got a really good run out of the chicane though, tucked up right behind. He looks inside, looks outside, but it's not really ideal to make an overtake in the last corner or the first corner here. Not saying it can't be done, but with them being nearly flat, perfect 90-degree corners, there's really only one way in and one way out. And any other way is just going to compromise you, but not enough to let you get overtaken. So right now, Wara holds on to third on track, which is second overall, as Indiel Togue continues to stay out on circuit. But Togue is so far ahead of ESV Green, I don't anticipate that Green is going to be too badly hampered by Togue. Bolt is tucked up behind Wara as they come through turn 2, the run uphill to turn 3. This is the next best chance for Bolt to make a move by the Porsche driver. Looks inside, looks outside, but is not close enough to do anything. The Porsche slides right in front of Bolt and powers out without any issue whatsoever. Avocado has cleared Danny at this stage of the race, and now Otavio Orange is the driver in the Mercedes that is tucked up behind EBT Danny, as Danny has not yet made their first pit stop in today's event. But we continue to look at this fight for what will be second once Togue makes their stop. Wara qualified third, a Porsche right behind the pole position Porsche of ESV Green. And right now it seems like Porsche may have what it takes, but Bolt is really trying to upset that. Tucked up behind again, looks to the inside, going to do the exact same thing they did last circuit around. Drag race down into the chicane. This time Bolt's got a little bit farther ahead. Can Bolt complete the pass under braking? Not quite. Bolt is a little sideways. They're still side by side. Bolt drops tires into the dirt, and Wara powers out without issue. Bolt had that, but he pushed the McLaren a little bit too wide and ended up just losing critical time. Not good news for Bolt. We know that Bolt can get by Wara now, but he needs to avoid making those kind of mistakes. Through turn 1. And now Wara into the grass, deep into the grass. They killed their straight line speed momentum. Here comes Bolt. That might be all that Bolt needs. Bolt's gonna have to make this event happen around the outside, but the car is almost completed the overtake now. Yes, Bolt will have the move done by the time they get to turn 2. Wara goes deep though. Wara sends it deep, traps Bolt on the outside. The McLaren slides, gets 2 inches from the wall. They're side by side the 3. They're gonna be side by side the 4, and it's Wara who has to back out of it. And now our top 4 drivers return, well, the top 4 qualifiers return to the positions they were, minus Indiel Togue, who was on an alternate pit strategy. Wara trying to cross over, trying to make it side by side the hill. This is not a good idea. Bolt gets touched. Bolt goes to the wall. Wara is back by. And Wara deep into the grass again. Bolt has a run. They're almost side by side, but Bolt backs out of it. He does not want to be side by side going downhill. Bolt backed out of it, and Bolt really backed out of it. Has lost a lot of time to Wara in the process. This is great news for the Porsche, though, as Bolt seems to be struggling to just keep the Porsche behind, let alone get ahead and stay ahead of the Porsche. It does seem like the Porsche is just a superior car, I believe, with the way that Green has peeled away. It looks like the Porsche is the car to be in, at least if you're one of the top drivers right now in today's event. Running downhill, and Bolt has really lost touch with Wara at this stage of the event. He might be able to close it back down, but the real talk is going to be, oh, and Indiel Avocado has dropped out. Indiel Avocado has dropped out of the event. What has happened to him? So now there are only 20. A travesty for Indiel Avocado, as Green is now closing in on Indiel Togue. And this could get really problematic for Green. The good news is that he's got a big gap over Wara and Bolt, who have been bleeding time fighting each other. But Green is now going to be trapped up behind Indiel Togue, who is on worn tires through the entire mountain section. Green wanted to be in clean air, and he's been in clean air for a while, but now that clean air is gone, as Arkina and Waventum are pitting farther back in the grid. very careful dealing with the aero wash from NDL Toad. The big thing with Forza aero wash is that it's not like real life aero wash. You're basically getting pulled with more speed into the corners than what you normally would be pulled into the corners with, and that can really upset the car's handling if suddenly you're entering a corner 2 or 3 miles an hour faster than normal. Green is tucked right up behind Toad. Will they try to make it side by side through here? No, but Green is really putting Toad under some significant pressure. Side by side, Toad is sliding as they come onto the back straightaway. This did not work out well for Green because Green is still side by side with Toad and is not going to get any advantage of draft from this Chevrolet. It does look like Green is faster in a straight line than Toad, though, as they are fighting side by side down the back straightaway. Coming to the party right now is NDL Avocado. Avocado, thank you for joining the party. Go ahead, include your audio. What happened out there? What took you out? As Toad finally makes their pit stop. Avocado, can you hear us? I do not know if Avocado can hear us right now. But Green now inherits the lead as Toad finally makes a stop after about 28 minutes on track. This fight for second is not done yet, but right now it's more of a stalking battle than a legit fight. Here is a more active fight going on. EBTE Donnie has gone farther than anyone else in the top 10 on tires. They still have yet to make a pit stop. Could Donnie be trying to make it a 4-stop strategy? It would be an interesting work. All right, Avocado's trying to get their audio taken care of. No rush. Whenever you get it working, just let us know. Something may have happened. Have we lost another driver? And EBT SS Flipper has dropped out now. Another one bites the dust. As Danny has now slipped back to 7th behind PRT Goose and NDL Toad, who stayed out but pitted a lap earlier than Donnie, maintains their position over Danny right now. So no progress for Donnie, but I wonder if Donnie's going to try and do an ultra special 3-stop strategy on hard tires. Donnie may only stop now, stop again at the 1 hour mark, and then stop again at the 30-minute to go mark. That is the those are the numbers that I'm seeing could be very possible here. Other fights going on. Oh, here we are. Indio Avocado. I hear you now. Can you hear me? All right, sweet. In the Xbox party, there should be an option to include your audio. Go ahead and do that and tell us what happened that took you out of the race there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am having PC issues recently. I think it's a hardware issue and I'm trying to fix it, but I was hoping it would last today, but the PC just crashed and it's been happening all too often recently, so I'm gonna definitely take a look this week more and get it fixed.
Well, I really hope you're able to turn that thing around. We've seen you in a lot of other series. You've got quite a bit of skill, and it's kind of bullcrap, in my opinion, for these kind of hardware issues to keep kicking you to the sidelines. At this stage in the race, though, the top 3 drivers are ESV Green, NDL Wara, and ESV Bolt. Who do you think has the best chance of pulling off a victory here between those 3?
Seems like Green kind of has it right now. I don't know what exactly happened to get Stevie Wara back up with Bolt, but they are really having quite the battle, it looks like. So either of them can come on in second.
All right. I do want to say thank you for jumping and talking with us. Again, it's a shame. I wanted to talk to you maybe an hour and a half later than this point, you know, but things occur.
Yes,
Anyways, thanks for jumping in. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us, and thanks for helping bring me in to help broadcast this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, as we turn our focus back on track, as Bolt has gotten back by Wara. It was a bold, daring move through turns 2, 3, and 4, but Bolt has gotten back by Wara. But as these two have been fighting, they've been bleeding off time to each other, and it's let ESV Green really scoot away at the head of the field without any issue whatsoever right now. right on top of each other. This is farther back. This is for NDL Togue, and he is trying to run down PRT Goose. Remember, Togue is on a radically alternate strategy, trying to minimize pit stops. Also, Roken GTR bound in 19th still has not made their first stop of the day. So we'll keep an eye on that here. Down the start-finish line straight here. Togue is slowly rolling PRT Goose in, as Togue is going to have fresher tires. A lot of these drivers have been on the second set of tires for a while. Oh, and Togue slides into the dirt. That's not going to help it one bit. And check this out. The EVTE drivers continue to have these fights going throughout the entire race as NDL Hot Pockets is tucked up right behind Viero. Over the bit of that hump on the straightaway into turn 2. Does Hot Pockets make the lunge? No. In fact, if anything, Hot Pockets slides out in the draft just a bit. But Viero slides out on corner exit. Hot Pockets looking to the outside. Will they try and make a crossover and dive into 4? Yes, they do! And Viero gets knocked into the wall in the process. Hot Pockets hits the inside wall as well. That's the danger of trying to make moves in turns 3 and 4. You can go nowhere very quickly, or just go into a wall very quickly, try to go side by side through there. But if you know what you're doing, you can pull out a great move. The Viero was prepared enough for it that all it did was just slow both of them down. Hot Pocket slaps the wall as now this duo comes to the top of the hill. Running downhill once again. Oh, wow. It looks like Hot Pockets has lost a little bit of ground to Viero as they're running downhill right now. Oh, and Viero's now hit the wall. And hit the wall in one of the last corners of the run down. Hot Pockets will have a decent run out of there and onto the back straightaway. He's got a toe. No, he's not close enough to have a toe as ESV Green, ESV Bolt, and India Wara will make their second round of stops. I anticipate that Orange and Goose will join them as well. So now we're starting to see drivers, after about 44 minutes, are making their second pit stops of the day. Otavio Orange is actually going to stay out for a little bit longer, so Orange will go into the top position now. PRT Goose will come into the pits. NDL Togue, we are guaranteed, is going to stay out. And it looks like EVT Viero and NDL Hot Pockets will stay out as well. But your leader for the moment is going to be Otavio Orange, with NDL Togue moving back into second. And look at that! Wara and Bolt right on top of each other. What has happened to Green? What has happened to Green? He had a massive lead over Wara and Bolt, and now he's behind both of them. What in the world happened? Did he miss pit lane entry? Did he mess up on the pit lane entry on warm tires? As Bolt and Wara are sideways coming out turn number 2, and Green hits the wall behind them. All 3 of our top drivers are struggling. This is the fight for the overall lead of the race, and it is the McLaren that goes into the wall. He slides. Wara is now ahead of both ESV drivers as Green has pulled up behind Bolt here. Right now, Laura Green, as he looks at Bolt and Wara ahead, and they've got Indio Togue ahead of them, and Togue is still going to be on track for a while. They can't just let Togue held on and just get by him when he pits. He's going to be on track for a while compared to these drivers. They need to get by Indio Togue nice and quickly down the back straightaway. Wara, Bolt, Green, in the opposite of positions relative to each other than they started. There is still a Porsche ahead of the McLaren and then a Porsche in third, but the Porsches have swapped, and Bolt is now stuck behind Wara. Bolt hits the outside wall. It's a drag race behind, or it looks like it's going to be a drag race behind Bolt and Wara. Is this going to be the move that puts Bolt into the lead for the first time today? Pulls up alongside, gets alongside, side by side, coming into the chicane, and again, Wara can go so much deeper on the brakes and keep their Porsche out of the dirt. They make a little bit of contact though. Bolt has a great run coming out. This is really interesting because we did not think we'd see a side-by-side run into the final corner, but Bolt's done it, and Bolt pulls it out, and Bolt's gonna lead as it's gonna be a drag race to the line. Bolt has it. Wara, though, has the inside line. Wara dives in deep, makes contact with Bolt, and the SV Green now pulls up behind the Porsche. Our top three drivers all right on top of each other on the run uphill. Bolt has fallen behind both of them as Wara and Green are running on a drag race on the way uphill. Green on the outside, Wara on the inside. Green is faster in a straight line this time by because Wara got hit. Wara goes in deep, slides the car. Green gets really sideways. Now Bolt comes back, tries to look to the outside of his teammate, can't do it, and it is going to be Indiel Wara at the head of the field. They still are going to have to deal with Indiel Toad, who is not that far up the track from them. Not to mention they got EBT Viero and Indiel Hot Pockets about to catch the back of this field as well, because these three drivers have been fighting so aggressively they have bled off a lot of time. Run downhill once again. Oh, Wara and Green both had a bad run out, but Wara's was worse than Green. They've lost Bolt for a moment, so there's some Porsche on Porsche action at the end of the field. Oh, and that's Bolt hard into the wall farther back. And Bolt might end up losing position in Viero. So it's now just two Porsches at the head of the field. Green runs behind Wara. They've got a draft. Are they going to try and make a move into this heavy braking zone? But as these two are fighting, Togue is actually pulled away a little bit. Green to the inside. They'll put him on the outside of the braking zone. Wara, though, again, goes in deep under braking. Come on, Cameron. This is not the time. And Wara holds station, and Orange is going to pit, and RX, FFEX, and EBT Revolts have both dropped out, so now we're down to just 17 drivers. Indiel Togue will now be your race leader. And Togue is actually pulling away from this trio as these three just continue to fight with each other, and they are bleeding off time while Togue is just burning off laps in completely clean air right now. We're anticipating Togue is going to make one, if not two, fewer stops than these drivers. And that could be a big thing, considering that Togue is running in completely clean air right now, is not struggling one bit. Green slides out behind Wara. You can see Bolt a little bit farther back in McLaren, trying to close back up. Oh, when Wara really, really wide in turn 3 and 4, lets Green close in just a little bit. Not really an ideal task to try and make an overtake on the run uphill. We've seen a few drivers pull it off early on when we just didn't have much of an option, but right now the better option would be to wait and try and make moves in the draft and the braking zone, but I don't know if Green's going to be patient enough to do that. As the sun is just about to set here at Mount Panorama, 40 minutes into the event. Wara really did not have a good run out onto the back straightaway. Green tucks up behind Wara. It's going to be a drag race once again. Green's got Wara's draft. Look to the inside. Again, that'll be outside when they get into the braking zone. The Porsche is a little bit farther ahead this time, though. Is Green going to be able to finish the overtake by the braking zone? Not quite. Wara sends it in, makes contact, but Green's done it. And Green twists. Wara has the run out. Green's got the position, but Wara is not done. Wara looks to the outside. Green sends it in. Wara is a little bit earlier on the brakes to get a better run out, but Green is back to the top spot. Wara looks to the inside. They'll be neck and neck into turn 1. Wara pushes Green wide, and Green is going to slide a bit. Wara now goes back to the front, so Green had the lead for all of about 2 corners, and now Wara is back to the top position, and they've dragged ESV Bolt back into the fray as Togue continues to pull away. Green looks to the inside of Wara. That's not where Wara wanted to get overtaken at. Green pushes Wara. Oh, Wara just does not have the car under them, and Green is now going to go back to the lead. Now Bolt looks through to make the move on Wara back there for a second. And the top 3 are all nose to tail. It's Porsche, McLaren at the head of the field. A little bit more than a third of the way through this race. This could go to any of these drivers. Oh, Green slaps the outside wall, traveling aggressively, and Wara gets right back on the Porsche's rear bumper. Do they make a move going downhill? Not quite, but Green is showing weakness here, and their third tire stint. Oh, hard into the wall goes Bolt. But Bolt's got a significant distance advantage now over Wara as they come onto the back straightaway. Run downhill as they go under the bridge and they come down into the best overtaking zone. If Wara can't get alongside Green into the braking zone here, I think Green's going to be able to start scooting away. Wara is most definitely not close enough to make a move. They close the gap down just a little bit. Actually, that's a lot more than a little bit. That's a lot. Wara is really, really good under the heavy braking zones. But Green seems to be better around most of the rest of the circuit. Onto the front stretch once again as they cross the start-finish line. Oh, and Wara slides into the dirt, deep into the dirt. That will probably settle the fight for the lead for the moment. I really went into this race under the mindset that this was going to be an event where we wouldn't really be looking at the top 3 or top 5 most of the race, and we'd be spending a lot of time looking at drivers in the middle of the field, but that's been the opposite of how this has actually turned out. The top 3 have really been putting on some incredible fights for most of the day. Right now, Bolt is the odd man out, but if Green continues to make these mistakes while Wara pressures them, Bolt's going to be right back up behind them. Neither of these 3 drivers are bulletproof. All of them are making a series of small, tiny mistakes, bouncing off of walls, sliding over curves. Right now, though, it looks like Green is the one better off as Wara slides into the wall there. That is Rakuten GTR, who's about to go a lap down, the first driver who has gone a lap down in today's race. We look out the back of Indiel Tobe, and you can see he has really opened up the gap on second, third, and fourth. Wara tucked up behind Green. Green did not have a good run coming out to the backstretch, and Wara's got to pull alongside very early on here. We're going to see this duo side by side as they come into the braking zone. This is for the lead, potentially. There goes Togue, who goes by. But this is the real fight we're looking at. Green outside, Wara inside. They go deep into the corner. And Wara has gotten the position back from Green. And now Bolt is right there as well. The top 3 all on top of each other once again. Wara, Green, and Green goes into the dirt. He's going to bleed off speed now. And Togue continues to just click off laps solo without issue. This is absolutely incredible. I did not anticipate to see anything like this today as the field runs uphill once again. Wara pulling away just a little bit from ESV Green. Right out the back of Wara's machine, Green has a big toe, lunges under braking, but can't keep the Porsche straight enough to get alongside. Will he run again to turns 3 and 4? He looks. Wara touches the outside, then the inside. But there's no room for Green to get alongside through here. Green touches the wall. Wara plows the outside wall. And now Green's alongside. You don't want to be side by side through here. Green has to back out. At the top of the hill now, Green touches the inside wall just a little bit. Wara really seems to have come to life once the sun went away. And Green seems to be getting a little bit weaker here on the colder track with the sun hitting. Bolt still holds on in 4th, 3rd realistically, but is not in a position to make a move. Green's gonna force himself by on the inside. That could be all it takes to get by Wara. They're coming to the braking zone now. Wara on the outside. Green's gonna be on the inside. Who goes deeper under braking? Green gets it. Wara had to backpedal so much, but Green has gotten by Wara. Now the McLaren of Bolt is tucked right up behind Wara once again. Toad has made their stop. The Toad burned off so many laps in clean air while these three were all fighting amongst each other. That could really play big dividends for Toad, who we know is doing a strategy that would have one, if not two, fewer stops in these cars. Wara has a run on Green. Will they dive into turn 2? No. What about turn 3? Green slides wide. Wara has a run. Do they make the dive? He pushes Green into 3. Brakes early. Green lunges. Wara's trying to get the Porsche turned around at turn 4, but Green has the position. A little bit of contact on the outside wall. Well, Porsche seem to be keen right now. Wara slides wide. That gives Bolton a look to the inside, but can't get alongside on this section of the circuit. Now to the top of the track. At the top of the mountain, Green hits the dirt, slides in front of Wara. Green's almost out of control. Can he dial it back in? Yes, Green will just barely keep it dialed back in. It's all just a matter of minimizing these mistakes, and all three of you drivers keep making a series of small mistakes. A slide over the curb here, a bounce on the wall here, getting sideways after dropping entirely to the grass here, but they're all bleeding time from each other. Right now, though, it looks like Green is the faster of the three. Wara, I think, is the slower of the three, but Wara is in a car that is so much better in fighting. But Bolt has a run on Wara. He's not going to go for the move yet, though. Wara deep into the dirt, and now Green's going to come in the pit. So will Wara, and so will Bolt. That's a messy pit lane. So Otavio Orange, who runs in fourth, is going to stay out again like they have before, and will re-inherit the lead. Of those three drivers, Green, Wara, and Bolt, who's going to be ahead when they come out of the pits? As Otavio Orange goes to the lead and NDL Toad once again ends up ahead, so does PRT Goose. And it's going to be ESV Green ahead of Wara and Bolt. So those three have not changed positions after making this pit stop as they run uphill once again. Big thing, though, is that PRT Goose is right now trapped behind Rokun GTR as the Ford GT is trying to put them a lap down. And Green is going to have to deal with the lap traffic shortly, and PRT Goose, who is not lap traffic, but is just on a radically different pit stop strategy. So Green, who got lots of time in clean air in the first two stints, had a bad pit stop. Oh, and Wara's hit the wall, and Bolt's got to run! Bolt's got to run, but can't get alongside. But that's good news for Green. Green's going to get by Roka without issue, and it is Bolt who struggles, but Green is pulled away a bit. But now Green is trapped up behind the Ford GT of PRT Goose. So Goose is now back. Green up to India Wara once again. But Green will have the trap off of Goose and should be able to dispose of Goose going down the straightaway. Wara did not have a good run coming onto the backstretch here. It got draft off of Green, but it looks like Green may not be fast enough to outrun Goose into the braking zone. Green looks to the outside of the braking. Goes in deep. Goose is still side by side. Green is still not been able to make any move, and Wara is there. The Ford GT will pit, but the Porsche is in, and the NDL Wara lunges to the inside. Green goes into the dirt, and it's going to be a drag race to the line again. Green just barely has the nose ahead, but Wara has the inside line in turn 1, side by side again. Now they come uphill once more. Bolt is trapped, tucked up behind. It's still a drag race. Wara and Green. Toad is still farther up the track, as is Orange, as they are on alternate strategies. Green has the inside line. That's the line that they seem to do a little bit better on, unsurprisingly. And Orange will go a little wide. Wara looks to the outside. Cannot make the move. Wara slaps the outside wall this time. And Bolt is tucked up behind Wara still. But Toad continues to run in second place, as is Orange in first. And they're on radically alternate strategies, and they are not losing time fighting with cars. These three drivers, I do believe, are the fastest, but they are burning so much time fighting each other and making small mistakes. I have to wonder if all this fight is going to drag Toad or Orange into race-winning contention here. Also, shout out to EBTE Danny, who I think is doing the three-stop strategy. So we'll likely see them pit in about 7 to 8 minutes. Wara has really lost the touch with Green this time, though. I think after this round of pit stops, it's gone pretty clear that as long as Green doesn't make a mistake, he is the fastest of this trio. But all three of these cars have lost so much time. Wara really sideways into braking that time. Wara closes in so much on Green under braking. Even when Wara has a bad run under the braking, they still close the gap down. It's incredible. Finally get to calm down just a little bit, though with the way this is going, literally any second this fight can explode once again. Wara is tucked up right behind Green again in turn 2. Game seems to think that Wara got by Green, but that has most definitely not happened. Running uphill. Bolt just does not seem to be as fast right now in the night compared to these two. He's fast enough to keep pace, but he has not really made any moves since the sun has started to set. Green defends, Wara lunges, but neither of them really want to commit to going side by side downhill here. Right down to the bottom of the track once again here. We look farther back as the top three have settled down for the moment. Asule, who we talked about earlier, has moved themselves up into the 8th position, keeping PRT Goose and the Ford GT behind. But Goose has a run coming out of turn 1. It's going to be a drag race, and that is the lap traffic of Rokin GTR just ahead that they're going to have to deal with here. Goose has a toe off of Rokin. But Asule has the inside line, squeezes the Ford GT wide. And Asule will get the position, although Goose is still on the inside. Will Goose lunge into turns 3 and 4? Doesn't need to. Asule hits the outside wall. They're still side by side. They almost try to split Rokin 3 wide, but there's no room for that. Rokin just pulls off the racing line to let them both ride, but for now, Asule has station over Goose. Ooh, a Soule into the wall. Goose has a run. A big run. A Soule swerves to try and keep the 4DT behind. The gap between them opens just a little bit under braking. And a Soule, sorts of sideways downhill, hits the wall, and then gets hit from behind by Goose. Both of them lost a huge chunk of time in that. And Otavio Orange finally pits out of the first position. What about Toad, our second place driver in the Chevy? Continues to click off laps and completely clean air without issue. But the thing that Toad has to worry about, though, is that now ESV Green has pulled away from Wara and Bolt enough that Green can just focus on turning off fast laps, and that's not good news for NDL Toad. Has pulled up behind Green once more. Uwara briefly into the dirt, but it looks like Bolt is gaining a bit of Green a little bit sideways there, but Bolt seems to be closing a little bit more on Wara. I wonder if Wara is just kind of overdriving the tires, trying to Bolt close in on ESV Green. Mind you, it's not like NDL Toad is like a long ways up the road. NDL Toad is relatively close, and if Green gets a toe off of Toad, that could change the dynamic of this event. Not yet at the halfway point today, but we're almost there. So I feel like it's reasonable to assume that at this stage in the race, Toad is going to go for a 4-stop strategy, maybe 5-stop strategy. Green, Wara, and Bolt seem to be pretty committed to a 6-stop strategy, as Wara has gotten behind Green again somehow. Green just keeps making these small mistakes that lets Wara get right back behind and right alongside, and Wara's got to run, going uphill once again. All of a sudden, this fight at the front has exploded. Bolt's got a toe off of Wara, but Wara cannot complete the overtake on Green by the time they get into turn 2, so Green should hold this position without too much issue. No! Yes! No, Wara is still on the inside. Who backs out first? Neither of them. They're still side by side. On the acceleration out, Wara has completed the overtake. That was an overtake that took the better part of a mile to make happen, but Wara goes back in front of Green. Fighting in this stint has not been as extreme as what we saw in the earlier stints. But that doesn't mean they've given up, as Bolt now actually has a run on Green. Bolt has not really been ahead of Green very much at all today. But could this be a chance for the McLaren driver to get by his teammate? He looks to the inside, he peeks, but is not going to commit to it, because there's Bolt going, Green making a move, will send it deep on Wara in the braking zone, but drops tires in the dirt. Wara's going to go around the outside. There's a bold move by Green. He got by for a corner, but massacred his line out, and Wara holds station. Around turn 1, and now back uphill they come. Wara has actually opened the gap up on ESV Green, and Bolt has a tremendous run. Is Bolt gonna make a lunge this time? Bolt is tucked up behind, is not making a move, not yet. Looks to the inside, but is not going to commit. Now they go through 3-4 once again. If someone put a gun to my head and say, Hughes, who do you think is going to win this? I still think Green has the best likelihood, but Wara is really taking advantage of Green's weaknesses that they've been showing today. Oh, Wara into the wall! And now Green's got to run! Top of the hill! Wara is all sorts of sideways. Green briefly gets alongside but pulls back in line. You don't want to be side by side through those corners. You're just asking for a track blocking instant. Alright, now this is it. Green's got to run on Wara once again. Bolt's there, but I don't think Bolt's going to do anything. Green is lining up an inside line on Wara. Green's already got his course most of the way ahead. Can he complete the overtake by the time they get to the braking zone? No! How deep are they going to go? Green goes in deep and keeps it off the grass this time, but Wara still accelerates out with a better exit. Wara's going to have the inside line again as they come to the final quarter. I feel like they've played this song and dance 3 different times. Wara went a little bit too deep though in the final quarter. Now Green has the inside line coming down to 1. And that is a Mercedes of P1R bunter that this trio is now going to have to navigate around them quickly and cleanly. Green runs ahead of Wara. Wara has a run. Wara looks to the outside. Wara is not in a position to make a dive real deep here, though. Oh my goodness, 3 wide as they go by lap traffic. I think Green has it, though. In fact, Bolt is actually going to follow the ESV driver and get alongside the outside. Now Bolt backs out of it. But Green goes back to the front. These 3 will not stop. Trading positions is mainly Wara and Bolt, but it's mainly Wara and Green, but Bolt is not afraid to shake it up. And all the while, Toad continues to hold top position. Green left the inside line open to Wara. You don't want to go side by side through here. Green's into the outside wall, and Wara is barely going to make it through. I can't believe they made an overtake on the front uphill. How in the devil do you do that? Running downhill once again, though. P1R bunter has really lost touch, it seems, with these 3. Not really surprised. Bunter is a lap down. Toad still leads. And again, we've said this several times, Toad is on a radically different strategy. And with the way this is going, I think Toad can make it work. Green now goes to the inside of Wara and actually really slows himself down, so Wara is massively compromised. And now Green is coming into the pits. And so is Wara and Bolt. So all of our top 4 pit at the same time. This is going to be huge, though. Because Toad is basically a pit stop ahead of the Green Wara Bolt trio. And Toad is in position to pull out possibly a win just by turning so many laps in clean air. So Octavio Orange moves back up in the second, and NDL Toad is your leader. It is still Green, Wara, Bolt for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Also credit to EVTE Danny. I'm still keeping an eye on them as we believe Danny is doing a 3-stop strategy. So they'll next stop. Oh! And Warren and Bolt both went into the wall. That might be it. Warren and Bolt both slapped the wall. I think that might be it. Green is now going to pull a massive gap on this duo. That might be it. That might be all it takes to decide the rest of this race here. Now Green can go ahead and start burning off fast laps to try and run down NDL Toad. So this is the fight for second. Might be a fight for third. We'll see. But Wara's mistakes has now backed them up to Bolt and has really pushed them away from ESV Green. Let's see how much that gap has really opened up. The 4GT of PRT Goose is going to pit out of 6th position for right now. Bolt still tucked up behind Wara. Does not seem to be in a position to make the move. The McLaren just does not seem to be fast enough in the nighttime hours here. But I say that, but nighttime hours will likely start going away in about 11 to 12 minutes. Interesting thing for Green to consider, though. Green is running down on pouring. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to go ahead and spin a full lap on board with ESV Green. I try to do this for every race I do. We're going to spin an entire lap silently in the booth, riding on board with ESV Green to see what a flying lap looks like here around Bathurst. Well, that is a full lap on board with ESV Green, who's third on track, second overall, I believe. Otavio Orange is ahead, but I don't think Orange is in a position to really fight for the win or even second place. Orange is on a radically unique strategy compared to Green, Wara, Bolt behind, and then Togue ahead. Togue, I believe, is going for a 4-stop strategy, just trying to maximize runs on mediums. Green, I believe, is on a 6-stop strategy, trying to maximize runs on softs. I think Orange is probably doing a 5-stop, trying to be happily in between. Orange slides into the dirt there. Big thing, though, is that if Green ends up stuck for a long time behind Orange, it could drag Wara and Bolt back into it. Wara and Bolt slapped the wall in this exact section of the track about 4 laps ago, and it really pushed them away from ESV Green here. Orange runs wide. Well, that's a non-issue. Green will not have any issue there. So now Green, the next car he sees on track, is your current race leader, NDL Togue. Togue, again, I believe, is trying to minimize pit stops. Green is trying to maximize time on softer tires. And guess what? It's happened. Bolt and Wara. Drag race. Bolt, it's taken about 30 minutes, but he's making moves again. Wara has the inside line. Can dive a lot breaker. Bolt is all sorts of sideways and nearly wrecks himself and Wara coming out of the chicane. But for the moment, Wara has it, but Bolt is getting strong, and Wara seems to be losing the plot just a little bit here. Now the run uphill, Wara still has it over Bolt. And here's the thing, this duo will catch Otavio Orange in a little bit. Might not be this lap, but it could be in the next 2 laps unless Orange pits soon. Up through turn 2. Bolt's closer, but Bolt's not really shown a lot of willingness to dive unless the car ahead is really blocked up. Bolt's been a lot more reserved, and that could be an interesting factor here. Wara, as you see the little number over their drivers' names, Wara and Green both have some distance penalties, because it's a timed race and you get distance penalties instead of time penalties. But Wara and Green both have some distance penalties. Bolt still has not yet taken on any distance penalties in this race. Oh, Wara, all sorts of sideways, all sorts of crossed up. Bolt's right behind. Will not get alongside. Won't even hit him. Now, this duo has to contend with Otavio Orange. What is Bolt's strategy going to be? Right on board with McLaren. Will Wara dive on Orange into the chicane? If not, it could back Wara up enough for Bolt to have a run coming to the final corner. And that just did not work out well for Wara at all. Orange finally pits. It backed up Wara, not a lot, but it backed up Wara a little bit. So this duo now moves up to 3rd and 4th. Wara spent a lot of time with the tire in the dirt there. I don't know what happened to cause that. Also, EBT Viero is going to pit as well. But now I want to look at the fight for the lead that's about to form. ESV Green is running down NDL Togue. We are almost guaranteed that Green is on softer tires than Togue. But Green is trying to overcome was basically 2 stints and some change of intense fighting that saw him bleed a lot of lap time. While Togue has ended up ahead off the back of fewer pit stops and just running most of this race in clean air. but Green is absolutely abusing that Porsche, trying to run down the Chevrolet ahead of him. Slap on the outside wall by Green, but that won't really be enough to really compromise this. Mind you, Togue also has a little bit of a distance penalty as well. That they have to contend with. Green has just about caught Togue. Green slides into the dirt. That's not going to help. Mind you, these cars are going to go through another handling change because the sun is going to start peaking up relatively shortly here. You already can see in certain parts of the skybox that it is starting to get a little bit brighter. And Wara has just gotten back by Bolt. This duo just will not stop trading blows, but again, my main focus is on this fight for the lead that's about to happen. How long will it take for Green to get by Togue? Up to the top of the hill. He's close. He's so close he can smell him. Togue really loses a lot of time under braking compared to Green, it seems. And there it is. Green's there. Togue is not even going to fight. He just lets Green go right by. Well, that was incredibly anticlimactic. Togue did not even try to fight it. Well, all right. I really hyped that up for no reason. I apologize for that, people. Togue will run behind Green here on the run downhill. Does he lunge into the braking zone? I mean, even if he does, the tires are of a harder compound. Credit to Togue, he's staying in Green's tire tracks, keeping the Porsche driver honest, but now they're going back through the mountain. And Green, who has fresher rubber, should be able to open the gap on Togue just a bit. If he doesn't, though, well, the Togue just hit the wall, so yeah, that's over. Or is it? No, that's over. So yeah, now the fight looks like it's going to be for second, as Green has stretched away from Togue. And the question is going to be between Wara and Bolt, as Wara hits the wall and Bolt goes by. Yes, let's change the camera. So now the question is going to be between these two. Can either of them catch Togue and get by him? I believe they both have the same amount of pit stops left to the end of this race, which I think is 2 for everyone in the top 4 right now. Well, you saw it there, folks. Bolt has missed pit in. And that is going to massively upend Bolt's ability to try and fight with Wara. So our top three have all picked. Togue has stayed out for now. Togue only, I think, has one more stop left. Maybe two, but I think only one. But Bolt hitting the pit lane entry. And that is going to upend things. All right, so Togue in the pit lane. We know that ESV Green is going to overtake Togue. The question is going to be, how many more pit stops does Togue have left in this race? If Togue makes another stop, he's basically trapped behind Green. But if Green makes a stop and Togue does not have to stop again, things could swap and Green could end up in a position where he has to run down NDL Togue again. PRT Goose has made their stop. Also, Orange still on the radically unique stop on their own. Is pretty much locked in for a top 5. I'm really interested to see if they could punch up into a top 4 position. But most of the field has pretty much settled into positions now, and it's just going to be a matter of where does the majority of everyone end up once pit stop strategies are settled. Not really any battles left on the circuit either. Everyone is really spread out from each other right now. Again, we look at EBTE Danny, who I believe is doing the one-stop strategy. He's minimized time on pit lane, but just has not been fast enough to really do anything with that limited amount of pit lane time and maximum track time. I think Danny is going to be struggling just to come home with a top 10 finish. I could be wrong, but that's what it seems like is going to be the case to me. Kind of a shame, but we do, at least I don't know about everyone else, but I still have to applaud Danny for being willing to commit to doing a 3-stop strategy on hard tires all the way through, and everyone else has been trying to go between 5 and 6 pit stops today. Hot Pockets tucked up right behind Danny for the moment. Oh, and Danny hardening the wall. Well, that's not going to help either. How bad is Danny's tires? Are they that cooked? Well, they're not that cooked. They're in the 50s, so we should be better than that, but that's not going to help. Real quickly, just looking at the tire life for Toad. Only 6% right now, while for ESV Green, already at 13% and growing. Green just about guaranteed that he will need to make another pit stop before this is over. Toad, I think, can go to the end on this set of rubber. And the fight for third between Wara and Bolt has pretty much settled, and Otavio Orange on an alternate strategy compared to the cars ahead, I don't see any way that they're able to close down enough to overcome either of the two ahead. I could be wrong. Now you're starting to see the sky overhead really starting to brighten up here. Orange all sorts of sideways, really hurting that car. Kind of just sliding off circuit in a lot of areas as well, which is not going to help. So one big thing I think that's going to work out in Green's favor, if you look on track there, Green has basically no traffic ahead. The next car that he'll have to deal with is going to be Waventum, who I believe is still on the lead lap. Yeah, Waventum is still on the lead lap. And Waventum's just now made a pit stop, so Waventum's going to be behind Green, I believe. So yeah, with this in mind, Green won't have to worry about anyone until you get to Arkina, and Arkina is about a third of a lap ahead of Green. So with no traffic, I think it's just going to come down to just burning on a nice clean track here as we see Green diving into turn one once again on the run uphill now. So more than likely, Green, Wara, and Bolt are doing the 6-stop strategy, going on 7 stints on soft tires. Togue, I think, is doing a 4-stop strategy, basically doing 5 stints on medium tires. And then Danny, who is completely out of contention for this, but I will shout Danny out. Danny, and I believe Rokin GTR as well, are doing a 3-stop maximizing hards. Orange is the harder one to figure out. I think Orange might be doing a 5-stop strategy, trying to go a little bit faster than drivers who are mediums only, but Orange did not start very high up the order. But yeah, the way that looks, Orange is doing a 5-stop with most of the stops on mediums, but a few on softs, but it's just too far back to take advantage of it. Bolt, Wara, and Green on 6-stop strategies, all softs, and Togue on a 4-stop strategy, all mediums. Again, I'm really interested to see if Togue's going to be able to make these tires last. As I look at his tire life right now, 18.4% on that, well, 18.5% on that right front. I will give him credit, he is wearing the tires relatively evenly across everything right now. But it does look like our top 5 finishers have all pretty much locked up their position as long as none of them have an instant. And the big thing for Green running in completely clean air right now. So is Togue, but Green and Togue running in completely clean air. It's just going to come down to when Green makes his next stop. Assuming that he's making another stop, I see no reason why he would. But when Green makes his next stop, will he be able to get back ahead of Togue before this is over? Togue is close to Green. Green spent a lot of time throughout his 3rd, 4th, and a little bit of the 5th tire stint going really aggressively, fighting with Wara and his teammate Bolt. But it's been clean sailing since. Wara and Bolt slapped the wall on the run downhill. Oh my goodness, that's blinding! Holy moly! Cameraman, are you trying to blind me here? I'm an American. I don't have the health care to afford eye surgery for that. I'm sorry about that. Anyways, Green is basically trying to outdrive all the time that he lost fighting with Wara and Bolt earlier. Wara and Bolt banged off the wall on the run downhill earlier. And good God, that is so blinding. They hit the wall earlier, and then Bolt, on the most recent set of stops, hit the wall coming into pit lane, which has pushed him well away from Wara on this run to the end. So right now, 3rd, 4th, and 5th seem to be pretty much solidified in their positions. Orange might be able to make it to the end on this set of tires, Wara and Bolt will likely have to pit again, but even so, I think both of them will be fast enough that they can catch Orange and catch them and get by him before race is over. The gap between Green and Togue continues to grow, and Wara is actually running down Togue now, and this could be really problematic for Togue, because if Wara catches him and starts fighting with him and bleeds off time that Togue has, that basically seals the deal for ESV Green. Following Wara as they run behind Togue. You can see Bolt a little bit farther back. If these two spend way too long fighting, Bolt could be dragged into the fray. The real interesting thing for me, though, we look at Wara's tire life, 33% right now. Wara should be able to clear Togue without too much issue. In fact, they're going to dive into 3 and 4. Togue can't do anything to make contact, and Togue's the worst off for it. Wara shoots by. I think for all intents and purposes, that pretty much seals the deal. Green will win this. Unsurprisingly, he is an ESV driver. But Green will win this pretty much by default. The fight's going to be for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Can Orange do anything to close in on Bolt by the end of this? And then will Togue be able to stay ahead of Wara after Wara inevitably makes their final stop? Green is in almost completely clean track. He is actually starting to close down on traffic in the form of Roken, ZTR. But Roken has gone lap down so many times I don't think it will be an issue. Roken will probably just move off on one of the straights without too much issue here. Less than 30 minutes left in the event. We will keep an eye on EVTE Danny to see where how many positions Danny gains, as Danny is on that 3-stop strategy, just going hard, hard, hard. 21 drivers started this race, 17 still run. Most of our DNFs honestly happened in the first hour of the event. Togue's not totally lost Wara, but like we said, when toting that behind Green, it's just going to be a matter of can you follow someone else in the mountain section on medium tires? And honestly, it just seems like the answer is no, you can't. You'll be fine with the draft from the run downhill, the front straightaway, the run uphill, but once you get to about turn 4 and on, you're just going to be so much more sluggish. Viero and Asule are hitting now from 7th and 8th position. Oh, Wara hit a wall again. And Togue's going to try and close in here. Bolt is also starting to come into the picture as well. Both 2nd and 3rd just brush the wall there. ESV Green coming up on traffic. I'm just a little bit interested to see if Green's going to be held up at all by Roken or not, because this is really the only thing that's going to be the wild card to the end of this event, because Green is in completely clean air, turning off fantastic laps right now. If Roken just moves aside and Green isn't held up by him at all, then yes, this race will go in Green's favor. This is really the only thing left that can make the fight for this win a little bit interesting here in the final 25 minutes of this race. You can see 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in the very far distance on that shot. Once Green passes Roken, he should be green. Haha, clean and green. He has not been that clean. He has bounced off a lot of cars and walls today, but ESV Green should be nice and dealing with a green track for the rest of the time. Roken is putting a little bit of a fight up, but it's really only for one corner. I think that's it. That pretty much ends that without issue. Credit to Togue, though. Togue is not losing time to Wara, but Wara seems to be slowing Togue down irregardless. Oh, Wara's into the dirt! Slides hard into the wall right in front of Togue! And that's really gonna back Togue up. If Togue had the chance, he should have lunged for it, but it's so narrow and so tight there, that basically ends it. Yeah, so this is now just a fight for third, really, between Bolt and Wara, because Togue's got the tires to go to the end. Wara and Bolt do not, so he's gonna stay out, be ahead of this duo, and Wara and Bolt are gonna be back to fighting for third. So it looks like our top two finishers are going to be Green and Togue, and that's been confirmed. The question is just going to be when Wara and Bolt pit, how do they end up in relation to each other? Bolt crashed coming into the pit lane on the most recent incident, but I think Bolt has put everything together well enough that he's kind of dragging himself back into the fray. There is a bit of a fight farther back in the field, though. This is for 7th and 8th position here. As they get to the top of the hill, Hot Pockets and Viero, as Bolt is finally pitting out of the top spot. But Green and Wara, and so Bolt's pitting, I said out of the top spot, I'm sorry. Bolt's pitting out of 4th. So Bolt will have a few laps in cleaner air to try and run down the guys ahead. But Green, Wara, and Togue have not yet made their final stop. As we see a fight for 7th going on. Also, Danny has made their way back to 11th. Curious to see if they're going to get anything else. Bolt will actually fall behind Orange for the moment, but Bolt's now going to be on fresher tires than Orange to the end of this, so Bolt will get by Orange pretty much without issue here very shortly here. Hot Pockets can't seem to do anything to Viero now. Real quick, we look at this fight here for 4th and 5th. Bolt on fresh rubber, Orange on worn mediums. And Orange into the wall. But Bolt is trapped behind traffic. Indial Hot Dog is going to pit out in 9th. Green and Wara still have yet to make their final stop. Will they do it this circuit? Oh, Orange is wide. Almost hits the wall. Bolt's got to run. Bolt's got the draft. Bolt's got to run. So Bolt trapped up. So Bolt's tucked up behind Wara here. On the run uphill. Green way up the road. the gap between Green and Toad is pretty big, but Green has fresh tires and Toad has worn mediums. The gap is going to crush down for a lead very quickly, but this is the fight for third. Wara ahead of Bolt, just barely. Wara has been a little bit more mistake prone, but Bolt pitted earlier. He'll have to pay the piper. He'll be dealing with some bad tires here. And again, the big question is going to be how long will it take for Green to run down Toad? Toad should be clean and green to the Toad should have a nice clean racetrack ahead to the end of this race, but the same thing applies to Green. So while we look at this fight for third and fourth, oh, and Toad's pitting! Toad could not take his tires to the end. So that's it. Green will officially take home the win without any issue. The fight's going to be between Wara, Bolt, and Toad. Now, Toad will be on softs likely, and will be on softs that will be fresher than these two to the end. So he won't have to worry about any tire fall-offs. There's Toad coming out of pit lane now. He'll be on cold tires compared to these two, and the two of them have a better run out. Toad gets on the throttle. He's behind. I don't even know if he's going to get a draft. He needs these two to start fighting. So Green walks off with another Forza win, as anticipated, as expected. If he didn't win, we'd be confused and shocked. But Bolt and Wara are putting on a good little fight here for second and third, and the longer they fight, they will drag Toad into the fray, as Toad will have fresher rubber than both of them. Orange has also pitted. Orange put on soft tires, but Orange is not close enough to do anything to this trio. But right now, Bolt's got it over Wara, and the top three are in the same positions that they qualified in. They have not spent the majority of the race in those positions, but the top three are in the same positions that they qualified in. The interesting thing is going to be, Bolt has tires that are worse than Wara. Wara is going to have tires that will be worse than Toad, but time is going to be running out quickly to make use of that rubber. So three drivers fighting for the bottom two steps on the podium. They run downhill once more. Gaps aren't closing yet, but Wara does have a habit of closing massively here under braking. So we know that Toad should be on soft tires to the end here. And tires that will be fresher than the cars ahead. Toad pitted a lap later than Wara. Wara a lap later than Bolt. But Wara has been a little bit more mistake and accident prone. Also between these three, another thing to consider is that Bolt has no distance penalties yet. Wara and Toad do. If they end up being right on top of each other, side by side or bumper to bumper, when this race is over, that could be enough to give Bolt back into second position, just being cleaner. I'm not sure if that's going to be how it actually turns out, but it is possible. That is one small arrow that Bolt has in the quiver, but he needs to stay clean in order to take advantage of it. And now we're starting to see the Porsche of Wara starting to close in on the McLaren of Bolt, with only about 14 and a half minutes left. Spot, so that will move Danny back into 11th, but I don't think Danny on that three-stop strategy has any chance of cracking the top 10, sadly, unless a bunch of drivers ahead start having real bad issues. Gap is not closing fast enough for Toad. Wara is absolutely running Bolt down, but I don't know if Toad is going to be able to do anything. Unless this duo stays side by side for multiple corners, uphill and downhill. Bolt slammed the pit lane barrier on his second to last pit stop, lost a bunch of time. But Wara made a lot of mistakes and it dragged Bolt back into the fray. Then Bolt decided to pit a lap early to try and get track position. It wasn't a very clean lap, but he got track position out of it. Wara now tucked up behind the not tucked up, but Wara now behind the McLaren has to rely on cleaner tires and hopefully being a more aggressive driver under braking to get by Bolt. That is where Wara has made the majority of his time, on the dive down into the chase chicane, the second to last corner on the circuit. Toad just does not have the pace. If anything, he is losing touch with this duo. It is going to be a two-man fight for second to the end here. Right out the back of ESV Bolt, with less than 11 minutes left in this race. Wara, his tires are 1 lap fresher, but does not seem to be closing at a significant rate. Toad is another several seconds behind. Realistically, this is the fight for the second, third, and fourth place positions. And it looks like track position is keen. Bolt, unless his tires fall off a cliff, something nasty in the last lap, seems to be well on his way to a second place finish. And your winner, unsurprisingly, is going to be ESV Green, despite spending a lot of time really struggling to see the clock there, less than 10 minutes. As we saw, ESV Green may have spent a lot of time fighting with other drivers. He just made fewer big mistakes. He made plenty of small mistakes, but he made fewer big mistakes compared to Wara and Bolt. And Toad has been fine, but he's been on slower tires, trying to minimize pit lane time, and that just does not seem, that strategy has not worked out in his favor. If anything, it looks like this gap for second is opening a bit for now. Wara has had a bit of a habit of overdriving when he's trying to chase cars down. He overdrives and actually ends up burning up time and burning up his tires. Oh, they stalled the engine there? That was weird. There is a bit of a potential fight that could happen for 6th and 7th as Goose in the Ford DT runs behind Viero but he's not really any closer to Viero than Wara is to Bolt right now. And no one else on track is next to close to being on top of each other here. Yeah, Wara is actually slipping into Toge's grasp, if anything. Yeah, with 7.5 minutes left, it seems like these positions are basically decided. Wara closes in a lot under braking, but that seems to be it. And clean air is all that Bolt may need to bring this thing home. But your pole sitter was ESV Green. It has not been a clean and green race, but in the last 2 stints, when it mattered the most, Green really was able to put his head down and absolutely pull away. He showed a lot of weakness when the track got dark. But in the daylight, he has without a doubt been the fastest driver here. And he is well on his way to winning PR1's Bathurst 2-hour mini enduro. Slide there, but as long as Green doesn't spin into the dirt, he'll be fine. He's got a lot of time. He doesn't have to push hard. He can relax a bit. Especially considering the drivers behind, if anything, are more likely to be fighting each other than to catch him. Although Green is definitely making a lot of mistakes. This is not a great lap by Green. Are his tires okay? His tires should be okay, but his tires are a little bit worn, but he should be able to bring this thing home without too much issue. And speaking of tires, this man pitted earlier than everyone else. Rear tires in the 50% range, front tires in the 48 to 50% range as well. Still, it doesn't look like Wara is going to catch Bolt. They only are going to have about 2 laps left here. And while Bolt's tires are not getting any younger, he still has this gap and is not really falling apart.
Race ends in 5 minutes.
Thank you, game. So you heard it there. Race is going to be over in 5 minutes. Unfortunately, Twitch is going to insist on cramming one last add-in before this is over. But it should be short, only about 30 seconds, so hopefully it won't take away from the action too much here. I do apologize that Twitch is going to insist on doing that. I tried my best to time the advertisements to where they would happen when nothing was really going on the circuit. Bolt really slides there. Run uphill once again. 4 minutes left. I think Bolt's gonna do it. If he loses this, if he loses this second position, it's gonna be in a very explosive way. Because mind you, it's not like Wara is flying around on perfectly clean tires. Wara's tires are burning up as well. And Toge is basically completely out of the picture. Despite leading so many laps on his alternate strategy, he's just not close enough to do anything. into the final corner. These drivers should only have enough time for one more full lap. They'll have a little bit more than that, but I think they're only going to have one more full lap here. While Wara is getting closer. Rear tires on that McLaren in the 60% range, so Bolt's abilities to put the power down coming onto these big straights are going to be really difficult. But real quickly, I look at Wara behind, and it's not like Wara's tires are, it's only one lap better. He's already in the 50% range. And Togue is nowhere close to this duel right now. Oh! And Bolt slapped the wall. He's definitely showing weakness. There's definitely a lack of grip. He is bleeding time. He's got 2.5 minutes left. Can he keep it under him? We can hear the thing sliding as he tries to put power down. You're both in the same camera shot in a lot of these shots now. But again, if Wara pushes too hard, his tires aren't that much better. I think Bolt's got this. As long as he can get a good run coming onto the straightaways, I think Bolt will have this. 2 minutes left. Here comes the drag race. Bolt, Wara, drag racing down the straightaway. It's a dead heat. Wara is on the line that he likes to be on. Is this going to be enough to get Wara into a second place finish? It won't be a win, but second would be a lot. Dead heat, heavy under braking. Wara sends it really deep. He twitches the Porsche. But Bolt does not have the traction to try and cross him back over. He tucks back in behind the Porsche. He's looking to the inside. Wara defends. Bolt looks to the outside. Wara is going to hold his line. Neither of them have a great run out of that final corner, but the rear tires have fallen off for Bolt. A minute left. They will not get all the way around. Bolt is not going to get the second place that he qualified in, but as long as nothing goes wrong, he should still be able to take home third over Toad. But his tires, in the 68% wear mark, he'll be at 70% under braking here. This is going to be really difficult. So with mere seconds left, he should be good. And again, Bolt has an advantage of no penalties thus far, while Toad does have penalties. "13 seconds left. 12. Time is almost up. But even if Toad catches Bolt, unless Bolt has an accident, there's no way it happens. Oh, Mess 14 plate Drewski, who's run out of fuel on track. And it's over. You saw it there. Bolt held on to third. But it is Porsche that is the dominant manufacturer here, qualifying first and third and bringing it home first and second. Unsurprisingly, it was ESV Green at the head of the field. They got really close there in that fight from second to fourth. But the top three qualifiers are going to be your top three finishers in the end. So we're going to go ahead and try and reach out to our top five finishers and see if they have anything they want to say about their event here. Don't know how many of them are actually going to be willing to speak post-race with us, but we'll reach out and see if anyone is willing to have a post-race interview here. All right, and coming into the party right now is ESV Bolt, our third place finisher. Bolt, can you hear me? All right, Bolt, in the Xbox party, there should be an option that says include audio. So go ahead and do that so we can get an interview done after that punishing race.
All right.
Here we are. All right. Bolt qualified second, finished third. Not quite where you wanted to be, but still, you put on a heck of a fight with Green and Wara throughout the majority of that race. What do you have to say about that run today?
Yeah, it was a pretty fun race. But had a lot of mistakes. Definitely could have won. And yeah, just try to preserve my tires at the end, but they're falling short, fortunately.
Yeah, well, it did give you a lot of track position. I won't lie, from my position, I thought you had it. You had such a gap over third. I really thought you were going to bring it home there.
Yeah.
Still, pretty fantastic run out there. Also, I do want to give you big kudos for being the only driver in the top 3 to finish with no penalties whatsoever. So great job at doing that as well. Where can we expect to see you racing in the near future over the next month or two?
Not too sure. Probably any like tour events coming up.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye then on you in tour events in the future. I do believe the Daytona 24 will probably be in about 5 weeks or so. But anyways, Bolt, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Third place finish after a top 3 starting position. Great run out there. And now I want to go ahead and talk with our 4th place finisher real quickly, Indiel Togue. Togue, same question. Go into the Xbox party, go ahead and click the little box that says include audio for party chat. And then once you've done, let me know when you've done that.
Got it.
All right, Togue, very interesting race. You didn't have the highest starting position, but on your alternate strategy, you led a lot of laps out there today. In the end, though, came short of a top 3. What do you have to say about your run out there? And do you think the problem may have been because of the car and not the strategy?
No, I think the C8 worked really well there. Much better than the Lexus, in my opinion, from yesterday. I'm really happy with the tire strat. It worked out very well. Also, I had clean air for the most part, so yeah, happy with the result.
All right, top 4 finish was honestly very, very strong. So I've got to ask you, Togue. Well, actually, I have something else to ask you. Am I pronouncing your name right? I've been saying Togue the entire day. Am I saying that right?
Oh, everyone does that. It's Toge.
Toge. All right, I apologize for that.
No worries.
Other question I have, though, what can we be looking forward to seeing you in the next month or two when it comes to Forza racing?
I'll be racing in P1R's SEC Season 2.
All right, I believe
and-
that starts in January, right?
Correct.
All right. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on you there. If things work out on my end, I might end up being able to broadcast that, maybe not. But anyway, it was great to see you out there, Togue. Toga leading a bunch of laps, really putting it to the guys. But in the end, 4th is the best he could do. Still a pretty respectable showing, but it's going to be really hard to beat the guy who came home in the top position. ESV Green, same thing. Go ahead, check the Xbox party, and hit the little checkbox to include your audio. And then let me know once you've done that.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, Green, pole position to a race win. On the outside, if you didn't watch the race, it'd be really easy to say, oh yeah, it was easy. It's a traditional ESV walk-off. I watched that. That was anything but. I swear, that entire nighttime section, you were out there fighting demons, it looked like. What do you have to say about that run out there?
Yeah, it was really cool being able to fight like that on this track because you wouldn't expect it as much because of how tight it is. But yeah, throwing switchbacks at each other with Wara, it was insane. Like just having that race car. I mean, like of course, at the end, I started like I was losing composure a little bit, but I think it's way better when you have an 8-second cushion behind you to be doing that.
Well, that 8-second cushion helped a lot. I will say, I noticed he made a lot of mistakes, and so did Wara, and so did Bolt, but in the end, Wara slammed the car into the wall real badly. Bolt slammed into a tire barrier. I don't think you made a single big mistake. At least from my perspective, it looked like that is what brought you the victory. Do you agree, or do you think it was something else? Maybe with the car setup, or getting lucky with clean air, or what do you think was the key thing that really got you this win in the end?
Like after me and Warren were fighting a lot, I managed to break the slip. I think that was the major factor to me being able to run away with it, because it's very easy to stay in someone's slipstream because of the two big straights. So yeah, but yeah, like I also messed up a little bit on my own, like right at the start, putting it in the pit entry wall.
Oh, so that's why you've lost all that position on your
Yeah.
second pit stop. Okay.
I completely missed the entry.
Well, to come back from something like that is honestly pretty impressive. I won't lie.
Yeah, it was cool to be battling though, instead of just running away all the way from the start.
All right, so one more question, Green. Over the next month or two, where can we expect to see you? It's almost guaranteed, I imagine, that we'll see you at Taurus 24 Hours of Daytona next month. But is there anywhere else we can look to see you thrashing the field in the next month or two?
Yeah, so I'll also be doing RH's V8 Supercar race, 6 hours, also on this track. So yeah, like I'm currently working on the BOP for it. So yeah, that will be a really cool race because the cars are a little bit harder to drive. So going on the downhill, it's a lot more exciting.
Actually, I will ask a question because it's kind of a very interesting position then. You've just come back from running this race now at Bathurst. You know now where you can make overtakes, or you can't make overtakes. Now, obviously, different cars. Is that going to impact the way you're going to try and help with balancing those cars in that event?
Yeah, because I always try to cover as many racing experiences as possible when doing BOP. Because you know, like further in the race, you have more rubber, so that can have an effect on the BOP and stuff. So, yeah, anything that I can learn, it's for the better.
All right. Well, either way, Green, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. It was a pretty fantastic drive out there, but 222.261 miles completed. In the end, that was enough to bring you a victory here for the P1R 2-hour mini enduro here at Bathurst. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. I hope to be able to see you and talk to you again in the future.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for casting, by the way. It's awesome to have casters. Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to be brought in and do this. But anyways, with that in mind, I have been your host for today's race, Insane Leader 13. Well, the host of the broadcast, absolutely not the host for the race. But I've been the host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. Thank you very much for joining us. Next week, or on Saturday, we will get to the Watkins Glen race for the ISC GT Championship, as the championship points battle there is starting to heat up. And then we'll take a little bit of a break. We'll also continue the Resident Evil streams throughout the rest of this week. But until then, farewell and goodbye.